Homie, listen to this. Hey, listen to this. Listen to this. You turn your radio up, cuz. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Turn your radio up, cuz. Listen to this. Listen to this. Here we go. Hey, they need crank. They need a dog crank. Listen to this, yo. Listen to this. Come on.
Come on.
Hey, they need crank. They need a dog crank. Here we go. DMV. Go girl worldwide. Hey, turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money need to rate Boots in Vegas. Let it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money need to rate Boots in Vegas. Let it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. It's the blend. Chicka damn McDuffie. Oh yeah. Come on. D-T-Zone. DJ D-Money. Monday and Wednesday, 6 to 10. Chicka princess. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money Nika Ray Boots in Vegas. Said it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money Nika Ray Boots in Vegas. Said it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money Nika Ray Boots in Vegas. Said it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend. It's the blend. The money Nika Ray Boots in Vegas. Said it again. Turn your radio up.
And we're blessed.
And you know this, man.
Lord, today. Hello, everyone. Hello, loved ones. Hercules. It is the creme de la creme called the blend.
Yes, it is.
Pull up.
Uh-oh, he's fired up.
It's too easy. This is too easy. Too easy. It's a little bit too easy at this point. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make sure I get my shirt on. Hello, everybody. Hello, loved ones.
How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Happy to see you too.
All right, you're in the driver's seat tonight. Take it away, sir.
No, I'm just happy to be here. I just had to get it all out now. I'm sorry, D-Money.
I mean, no, you're doing a great job.
No, for once in my life, but I'm sure someone's gonna have a complaint. Therefore, you go ahead.
Hey, look here, you already know, man. Wednesday night, the team to be broadcasting with, without a shadow of a doubt. It is the Blend Show. It is me, your man DJ D Money. That is the DMV Princess Nika Ray Weather.
Oh yes.
And of course, my main man, the fifth letter of the alphabet, Bootsy Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Together we are the Blend Show, and we always give you, man, comedy, crank, and entertainment. But tonight it is about business, information, and education. With a little bit of comedy and crank in between. Right?
I mean,
that's how we getting it in, man. Hey, get right into it. Bootsy Vegas, you told us last week you was having a great week planned. How was your week, man?
My week was.
I see the waters in the trees behind you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So they kind of put a stop to that. You know what I mean? I think sometimes I should just wait because I kind of put it out in the universe. But the trip is coming. But a trip delayed is not a trip denied. I just want that to be known.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
that could be a lot of shirts. Don't if you see me with one of those shirts, just changing trip to a lot of other things.
Right.
Don't even ask for it.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
So unfortunately, I am not at Camp Riverview, but the payoff, the solace is I get to spend my Wednesday with Choo, and that's the only thing that matters to me is that I spend 8 to 10 every Wednesday with the fabulous Nika Ray and the amazing DJ D Money. Sorry, it was hard to get Nika Ray's name out when I said fabulous in front of it. Forgive me.
Oh wow. Okay.
But today is a anniversary today. You know, today is the 11th year anniversary.
11 with an F.
Yeah, 11.
He did not know this until 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
No, about 15 minutes. Today is the anniversary of when young E. Sally transitioned and made history under the name Boosie Vegas. It is when I debuted on the Donnie Simpson morning show when I shocked the world, baby. Not only did I shock the world, I shocked myself as well. But I shocked the world too. And I made my DMV debut on the Donnie Simpson morning show, and life has never changed since then.
I know. Hold that thought.
What up, y'all? This your homeboy here. Everything with a beat like Boosie. Boosie Vegas. Of Real Talk, the Donnie Simpson Morning Show.
I ain't gonna play the rest.
Yeah, man. You know, I was with Samantha. You know, Samantha Gunny is the person who did all my air checks for me. She did everything for me. She basically came up with the name Boosie Vegas for me or whatever. And we literally relived the moment. And then 15 minutes later, Nika kind of posted. I'm like, oh my God. But I tell you what, to God be the glory. And the only thing I miss is the money I made doing that 6-month stretch. Boy, oh boy. I should have stayed. If somebody would have told me to save my money, man.
Yeah, that post was made 11 years ago when Boosie was denying that he even knew me.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that. I never denied that I did not know you. You just look different every time I saw you. Like you look different right now than you did last month with the blonde streak. So today is a celebration, and because of that one moment, I now teach broadcast journalism. I have sent 23 kids to college. I live an amazing life. So sometimes that one small opportunity can derail your life for the best. That's what happened. And then all of that happened, I ended up here on the Blend Show with you guys. So you can tell life is really going to
Hi,
go. You know what
DJ.
I mean?
All right.
What up, dog? So
That's
yeah.
a good,
So yeah.
that's a good.
But hold on.
What's that?
Also, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Natalie Hopkins for allowing me to host the Go-Go Bill stimulus signing.
Hawkinson. Can you say her name right? Hawkinson.
Hopkinson. Yeah, that's her.
Put some respect on her name.
Yeah, you can tell she with the HU because you're taking this really personal. And I missed this last week, but let me say it now. Congratulations to Donnie Simpson on being named into the induction to the Radio Hall of Fame. So congratulations, Donnie Simpson.
All right, that's what's up. I'm like a lot of people. I thought he might have already been in there, but hey, at least it's official now.
Yeah, well, you know, they actually tried to deny him on this one too, but they just had to make an exception.
How they gonna deny him and put the Breakfast Club in there? First time balloteers.
Hey, dog. And then y'all put, and let me say this, I mess with Sway, but Sway,
Sway.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, they all deserving. Shout out to my homie because he really wanted this. So I'm happy that he got what he wanted. So that's all I care about.
All right. You hear our man Huggy go on him. I think it was yesterday I caught him.
I
talking
missed it.
about him in the being in the Hall of Fame. Was like, Tony P, you're back on CBS now, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, so that sounds good, man. Congratulations on your milestone anniversary.
Yeah, you know what I
that good
mean.
stuff.
It landed me right here with y'all. Nika Ray, how about you, baby?
I'll say, Nika Ray, what was up with it?
I mean, I had a pretty good week, you know. I'm blessed. I'm here. I'm alive. You know, Sunday fun day, Taco Tuesday, and I made it to Wednesday. So here we are.
So,
although, I mean, it's just a lot of, you know, outside of my personal life, but you know, what's going on in the world, it's definitely been.
You have a personal life, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do have a personal life, one that you don't know about.
Ooh,
obviously, you have to question it, then you don't know about it.
Okay.
can I ask you something though, Nika Ray?
Oh shit.
Do you?
Oh my God.
Do you come?
Every time he has a question, like I swear this is what happens every week. He starts off with the question, and then it becomes like a whole like thing about me. I swear.
Toughen up, Buttercup.
That I would like to know as your dear friend, and I'm sure a lot of other dudes want to ask you, but I'm the voice of those.
You're the voice of those.
Do you sit back and say, I'm bored, I'm gonna shut the internet down, Instagram down, Facebook down and
Who,
post
Nika Ray?
one of your pictures up? Or is this just something that's just, I'm just wondering.
No, I do not say that I'm bored. I'm going to shut the internet down.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering, because you do know every time you do it, I just don't even go on. I don't go on Twitter anymore. I don't go on Gram for a couple hours. I don't know about Bootsy, but I
don't even follow me.
like
You
I
still follow me on Snapchat?
I don't really. Snapchat just didn't rub off on me. Pause. But
see, what happened was, I feel like every time a social media platform comes out, I kind of migrate there because it's less followers, so I can be a little bit more ratchet.
The new Facebook. Well, it's not Facebook, but it's a Afro-American style Facebook out.
Black Book?
It's called. It's I'm gonna have to look. I can't get, but it's by Ice Cube. Ice Cube.
Oh.
And it has the same look as Facebook and all the chats, all the features, but it's for us. And he don't block certain topics like they do on this side, like Mark does. So I'm gonna Google it. I had it written down. What G say?
He says Snapchat Nika is a different vibe for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See.
And here go Mike.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See,
Okay,
I'm the voice of the people.
Now, D-Money, I don't want to be the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to be the nagging big brother, but I swear, some days I think Nika Ray has turned into a professional thirst trapper, and I'm like, bruh, like get out the like she be in the trap, and I'd be like, I be wanting to say something. I'm like, man, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
You say something about the trap, and here go Mike talking about trap chat. What?
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
First
like
of
all it takes is one person to step out and voice their opinion, and the other ones feel the energy.
I have no idea what you guys talk about. Like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. Yeah. Listen, on Sundays, and sometimes
the way you responded, let you know you're guilty, bro. Like, that whole little that let you know, bro.
Baby boy, leave me alone. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's Corona, it's COVID-19, so it's not many places I can go, but in the house. So every now and then I want to get dressed up and go to my living room. And that's what I do. Because at this point, I don't want to get lipstick and makeup on a mask, trying to go somewhere, trying to be cute. So I just do it in the house.
I saw that caption too.
Yeah. It's hard out here.
Wow.
Are you done with me?
I ain't gonna be that type of big brother D-Money, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let it go. Yeah, you know what I mean.
You'll let it ride.
Mike might go to bed. What is going on?
Go to bed. D-Money. What did you do?
Yes, D-Money.
Man,
D-Money.
look, I had a rough one. I did. I had a rough one, but thanks to Miss Money, she seen me in stress and had a nice staycation down around the area of Bootsy, Vegas, old stomping towns of Charlottesville. We was down there in the VA area, and I had a great time. I needed that. I needed that getaway, nice, safe environment. You know what I'm saying? But just to break the monotony of the D-Money studio walls. Yeah. So that was it. Definitely.
Next time you go, D-Money, let me take you though. You should go with me. Next time you go down.
Did you not hear? It was just the two of us, as they say.
Just the two of us.
I'm about to say, as Chubb Rock say, just the two of us, But it was a good time. We did catch up. I did check out in the Richmond area, place called Franklin Street. I thought Nika Ray might like this place. It's like an open area. It's sort of like remember when we were in Miami and we called it Potomac, Maryland, up where the
17th Street.
Yeah, that little strip right there where we was hookering and Bootsy Vegas was mad at us because me, you, and Billy the Kid and the whole fam was out there having
They called it Mo County.
County.
17th Street.
It's set up like Mo County.
It ain't like Mo County. It ain't Mo County no more down there.
Oh, okay. I haven't been in a few years, but It's sort of like Mo County, and they had the silent DJs, and the people was dancing in the street. So yeah, it was a good look. It was a good look, and yeah, so that's what it is. I did network with the DJs that was on there. If they tuned in, hit me in the DM. So make sure catch up with us, and we're gonna try to network and do something. But yeah. So,
I actually I had a good dinner on Thursday. I went out with the fam, me, my mom, my older brother, my younger brother. Shout out to I don't know if she want me to tell her business, but I saw somebody in Go-Go while I was out.
Don't say that.
I don't want to say their names, but
don't say that. They might was supposed to be at the library or
I thought about it after I said it. But the crazy thing is, she was like, Mika, and I was like looking around, and mind you don't know who everybody is anymore with these masks and things on. Right. So I didn't know who it was, and I'm like looking dead at her. I'm like, and then she like pulled the mask down. I was like, oh, hey girl, hey. Okay. But we did go out Thursday out to eat. We went to the Carlisle out VA, and it was a celebration because my brother just had his 40th birthday on Monday.
And I was about to get you if you ain't say nothing. I was gonna get you if you ain't say nothing. But go ahead.
That's my man, 100 grand. Okay, you think I'm not gonna show my
birthday, Polo?
What?
Polo boys, happy birthday, baby.
That's my boy. Okay,
that's what's up.
And my younger brother has a birthday coming up in 2 weeks, so we'll be talking about that soon.
Crank boy, right. Damo, you are the least famous sibling in your family right now. I hope you understand this right now. You're the least known, famous, recognizable sibling in your family.
That's funny that you say that, but then you and D-Money say I shut the internet down. I just got back on IG and started posting again, and now I'm shutting the internet down. But I've been posting the same pictures on Snapchat and Twitter.
Well, but look at the links that you got to go through.
What I see.
The links you have to go through for your thirst traps, but your brothers don't. Craig Boy Damo just show up. Okay.
I don't.
I'm sorry, D-Money. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so that's what it is. We do got a very informative show for you tonight. So we got a lot of information to pass. Boosie Vegas, want to tell them who our guest is?
We have the Honorable Ward 5 Council Member Kenyan McDuffie, who will be our guest today. But the most amazing thing is he is the person who created the bill, the Go-Go Stimulus Package bill. He also is the one that created the legislation to make Go-Go the official music of DC. So it is a real privilege to have him on the #1 premier Go-Go topic internet show in America right now. And where better else to break down the legislation, the process, how do you obtain the money, and what this will do for us in the future than to have it on the Blend Show. So we will have soon the Honorable Kenyan McDuffie, the Ward 5 Council Member.
All right. With that being said, you already know, man, always got new music on Wednesdays. So let's go ahead and get into this one. Don't need no judgment, because one thing for sure, they can't mute us. Hey, it's the Blend Show. Check this one out.
Don't mute me.
Hey, it's the Blend right here. It's your man D-Money. We got messages for you tonight.
Don't mute me.
We got messages for you tonight. So we're going to kick the mix off like this right here. And get into what we're going to get into, all right? Make sure you got your questions in the chat. Get your questions about the Go-Go bill in the chat. Brand new music, straight out the nation's capital. We're in the movement right now.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor. Black and vote. Yeah. What's happening?
Can't divide us. We gon' keep on fighting. We want freedom in the street.
Hell yeah.
Won't gentrify us. We gon' keep on striving. And we want some equity. Yeah. Stop the violence. Play the music.
Shout out to Milwaukee Bucks.
Thank Chuck Brown, for putting it down. And keep the movement with the beat. Yeah. When we're together, they can't keep us silent because you can't new DC. No,
We ain't having that.
Don't you
Come on, Wayne.
You can never
We got a message for you tonight. DaBlendShow, make sure you share this. 4 or 5 council members talking about the go-go bill tonight. Yes, sir. Let's get into a little crank, all right? What's up? Let's go. What is it? Libra season? Virgo season? What season is it? Make sure you share this feed. Hit that share button like right now. Let's go. Let's go. Shout out to my Uptown Brothers, the Backyard Band. I'm just an Uptown dude, man. I'm just an Uptown dude, man. I hear you singing. Shout out to the Cubicle Nation, working that late shift. What's up? Everybody on the West Coast, Central Time, Chi-Town, what's up? I see you on the march. I see my Chi-Town brothers on the march. Keep stepping, keep stepping.
They win, come on, win. It was always out here making. It was always out here making. But they know we bring that flavor. It was always out here making. It was always out here making. But they know we bring.
What's up, Mike? PG County, what's up? My man Steve. Okay, Northern VA. Shout out to my man BU. Blue Eye. We go, the whole crew. My man 32. What's up? Let's go. Let's go. Oh, my old Taj Mahal crew, what's up? Shout out to all my Zulu K members, what's up? Wednesday nights, they don't crank like we do. They don't crank like we do. Uh-oh.
I ain't coming for no food.
Let's go.
It don't make no more.
That's that southeast side.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This your man Trey Deuce, aka 31 Plus Tax. I'm jamming right now to my man DJ D Money. DJ D Money, spin me a record.
I got you 32. Let's go. What's up? What's up? It is the Blend Wednesday night action.
Don't forget about tomorrow. We celebrate Wade's birthday at the L8. You know what I mean?
That's when you don't want to spill your joint. You don't want to spill your drink down. All my JY crew, let's go. Diego, what's up? Still doing what we do, man. Still doing what we do, man.
You too, Quincy Street. We gonna pick up on this tomorrow.
Since my man Mark in here one time. Since my man Mark in here one time. Let me show some love to that side. We show love. It's the blend. That's how we do it. You won't get this on the other side.
Hey, block, hey, block, hey, block, hey, block, hey, block.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
Hey, block, hey, block, oh, why you blocking that? Why you blocking us? Why you blocking us? Why you blocking us? Why you blocking us?
Let's go.
Why you blocking us? 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 You blocking us? Why you blocking us? Why you blocking us? First of all, let me get a good Trinidad
Spinning hits, unlike these other DJ hits. DJ Money.
Yo, hey, block, hey, block, hey, block, hey, block,
Let's go.
Oh, lock it down for me, young.
Life is full of games and tricks. Life is full of niggas and thugs.
Uh-oh.
Life is full of buddies and hoes. But those is the niggas with all the blood. Life is full of niggas and tricks. Life is full of games and tricks. Life is full of niggas and hoes. Cause those is the niggas with all the blood. Come on.
Let me show you how to blend show love.
Oh man, I swear Frank, it ain't easy.
Let me show you how to blend show love.
I'll let my man Rico go on and work out real quick, y'all. Listen to Rico sing this bar, man. Rico.
Hold up, Rico. Go.
Hey, put your hands in the air. Hey, put your hood in the air. Hey, put your sex in the air. Hey, put your sex in the air. Hey, put your sex in the air. Hey, real quick, yo. Ever since I can remember, I don't love my color. Loving my color. Loving my color. Ever since I can remember,
Pop my own joint. Follow my drip. Follow my drip. Follow our drip.
Ever since I can remember, I've been loving my color. Loving my color. Loving my color. Ever since I can remember, I've been bringing gold. Hey, yo, ladies, yo, ladies.
It's your boy Drew, Chuck and Drew, chilling with DJ D Money. We get it all day. That's right. Count that.
And you know this, man.
What's up, Drew?
Hey, you let the derail. Hey, hold it. Hey, somebody stole it.
Ooh, did he say that?
Did
he say that?
The line road came through. The 4th Street crew here. The 4th Street crew. The 4th Street came through. Hey, homeboy, hold it.
Did he say that?
Hey, I said the Southside crew over here. Hey, what for? Hey, let me do a listen stand.
Hold up, no, you weren't a part. No, that's where it stopped. That's where it became unreal right there.
Boy, you Betty, you are pew. Boy,
hey, it is
Hey,
the blend.
real-
We are back. Let me try to tell you, man. Wednesday nights they don't do it like this. Like he say, They can't do it like me. Oh, I'm
Wow.
sorry. Bootsy Vegas, Nika Ray, D Money, we the blend. What's up?
Hey, look, first of all, that is very funny, but let me tell you what I hear that. I think about all the time that I wasted with that stupid battle because do you know who was down at the bill signing with me and we end up just kicking it? We were there the whole me and Scooby. So let me tell everybody that's in the go-go band, but especially if you're in a band that's getting money like I was when I was enlisted, don't waste your time battling.
I gotta go through my
when you're getting money,
catalog, man. I swear I do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Anyway, I'm off that.
09?
Anyway, it is the Blend Show. Oh, I don't know.
04?
I don't even know. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is the blend. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. It is the Blend Show right here. DJ D Money, Nika Ray on here. Today we have a very special guest, and I'm very happy about this guest because as we all see as these three members on this team, we'll be seeing a lot of posts being passed around. Seeing a lot of posts being passed around, a lot of misinformation being given out, passed around. And I think it's been so much circulating about this bill that we don't know what is factual and what is actual. So today we have a man that who authored the bill, who also authored the bill to create go-go as the legal, not the legal, but the official music of Washington, D.C. on paper. We all know go-go was already that before, but he also is the person who pushed this bill through, created the bill and pushed it through. On the Blend Show, we have the honorable council member from Ward 5, Kenyan McDuffie, on with the Blend Show. Hercules. Hello, council.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
How are you? We're good.
I'm doing good.
Well, I first want to say thank you so much for taking time out. I know as a council member in the middle of a pandemic with all this stuff going on, along with you being a father and also preparing for school to start, I appreciate the fact that you thought that we were important enough, but also that the go-go community was important enough to really address these issues or a lot of this misinformation that's being circulated and passed around. So let me just say that, like off the break, thank you for doing this for us because we know you did not have to do it, and we know you got.
Absolutely no, but I do it. I do need to do it. For folks who don't know, me and Big E go way back, so. Whenever he calls, whenever we run into each other, you just send out the request. I'm gonna make sure I show up. It's that easy. But the folks in this community, go-go community, and neighborhoods across the District of Columbia have been supporting me in elected office since day one. So it's only right that I support y'all the way y'all been supporting me.
Okay, so I guess my first question will be, and I know I may be putting this in the universe a little bit early, but when you become mayor, will we have the same type of access to you? Because that's what we want to know right now. Like, when you become mayor, Kenyan McDuffie, will I still be able to get you?
Let me say this. The same people who have my cell phone number now have my cell phone number before I was on the council and will continue to have my cell phone number regardless of the elected office that I represent. You don't get to be a council member or mayor in the District of Columbia if you don't remain true to the folks that had your back from day one. And I've always remained true to my folks.
Absolutely. Well, I think before we really get into this bill, I do think it's important for people to really have a full understanding of who you are, where you came from, and how you got to the point that you became this man who ushered and created this bill. Some people know this, some people don't. We know each other. We've known each other since probably elementary school. So it is really amazing to see somebody who mom I know, who brother and sister I know on a real personal basis. It has been more than uplifting. It's been really motivating to see somebody from the same ground that I come from become what you have become.
No, I appreciate that.
Now, in saying that, you legitimately come from humble beginnings. I've had to tell a few people, hey, y'all know he was just a regular DC public school person who worked at the post office, blase. But for people who may not know your real humble beginning, can you just do a small background or bio of where you come from and how you landed into this amazing position now?
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate that. And so for folks who are not familiar, I'm a native Washingtonian, third generation. In fact, I'm sitting right now in my house that I grew up in, and it's the same house that's been in my family since 1952. And we come from a neighborhood called Stronghold, which is a small, close-knit neighborhood that might not sound familiar to a lot of people, but it's technically within Edgewood. But my dad grew up here. My grandparents bought the house back in 1952. I went to Shade Elementary. Then my parents sent us to Catholic school. I ended up coming back with a Carroll for 2 years and graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School. And so a lot of folks see me on the council, see me with a suit and tie, know that I'm a lawyer, don't understand that I grew up and still live in the same streets where I learned to play basketball, where I learned to throw hands, where I learned to ride with people who had your back, when I learned to deal with situations that you get into growing up in what was then the murder capital of the United States in the 80s and 90s. And so, the work that I do today down at the council building is work that I view through the prism of my youth, right? Growing up in Stronghold, attending schools throughout the District of Columbia. And so when I came out of Wilson, real quick, when I came out of Wilson, I didn't apply to a single college. I have two older brothers, as you know, younger sister, but my brothers had gone to college. And by the time I had gotten to 12th grade, they had dropped out, right? So I looked at them, knew that they had high SAT scores, better grades. And I said, I'm not even going to bother if they couldn't make it. And so, I had to make that decision that a lot of young people in the city have to make when they're confronted with, being a teenager, 18 years old, with empty pockets and trying to figure out life. In a school of hard knocks in the District of Columbia where, they're not giving out jobs to people that only have a high school diploma. So it was tough. I mean, it was tough. You grow up seeing people, go off to prison, die in your neighborhood. And you got to figure out, that survival mentality that a lot of folks have to carry with them throughout the District of Columbia. And it wasn't any different for me. Even though I came from a two-parent household with parents who had jobs, it really didn't matter growing up in the District of Columbia in the 80s and 90s. You got drawn into a lot of things because it was essentially what you were surrounded with and what you saw every single day when you came outside, when you came back home. And so I appreciate that a lot of people wrapped their arms around me and frankly, thought a lot more of me than I thought of myself and really helped to direct me, and pull me back and put me on the right path. And so I actually carried mail for 4 years. And out of the station up on Wisconsin Avenue and started to see parts of the city that I had never seen before and saw, how the city was essentially divided and segregated racially in terms of where people live and the amount of sort of wealth that people had accumulated. And so it helped to change the perspective for me. And I ended up, going to UDC. I went initially back when I came out of high school, maybe 6 months out. And I went again and I ended up dropping UDC twice before I got the job in the Postal Service, carried mail for about 4 years, and then, lost some friends to gun violence. And it really changed my perspective and made me think that there's got to be more to life. Even though I had that secure job, I decided that I wanted to do more in helping my community. And I ended up making a really tough choice to resign from the Postal Service back in 1998. So I worked at the Postal Service from 94 to 98. I was doing well for myself too, man. I was putting money in my pocket legally. I had a car, and things were going well. But when I looked around my neighborhood, I didn't see the same sorts of things that I saw in other parts of the city and decided that I wanted to change that. And so I gave up that job, went back to college, UDC for a third time. And Lord willing, man, the third time was a charm. I did well at UDC, transferred over to Howard University, ended up graduating Howard University in the top 5% of my class with a degree in political science, community development, then went off to law school. The rest is history. And now I sit before y'all as a council member representing Ward 5 in the District of Columbia.
Wow. And I just think that is such an amazing story because these are all the stories that are a lot of these issues that we all face growing up, and you just talking them head on. And I just think this is the one thing that I always remember about you. This is so crazy. I can remember you being the mail guy and then some Friday seeing you in the black hole with your crew from First Street. With that was like the most amazing. So remember the guy that was carrying mail, that enjoyed go-go music like everybody else, become a council member. It's still mind-blowing to me because I seen your full transition from one place. And it's interesting because you actually post pictures of that sometime on your personal page. You will post the go-go pictures that you used to go to with the big afro and all that. So it is
because I want people to know that I'm of the city. How the city has been changing over the last 15 to 20 years. One of the things that really inspired me to run for office. It wasn't I looked at the council as a place where I was familiar with, or that I didn't grow up knowing any politicians. My family didn't associate with politics. We were civic minded. We voted. When my family took us to the polls. But I wanted people to know that I'm of the city. I grew up going to the black hole. I grew up, going to different places, going to the Met, going to Sugarcane, going to wherever we could find a spot. Remember back in the day, we had go-go's at our schools too, right? Whether it was, at Carroll or even some of these independent schools like Sitwell had go-go's. So we would go wherever we could find a go-go and party. It started really early, probably earlier than I could say. But I was up in the black with my brothers, literally, and then my brothers from other mothers at a very early age, man, where we were locking it. We was, we were watching people work the walls. It was that kind of environment where we loved the music. We loved the culture. We loved the people. And it was all about love, man. And I got fond memories. My dad had records, Trouble Funk and all that stuff playing in the house when we were young. So we grew up listening to Chuck back in the day, man. It was just a natural progression for me. And so I view my work as a council member through that prism, through somebody who grew up, in the District of Columbia during some really tough times where you couldn't pay people to buy houses. You had boarded up houses in parts of the city that right now houses are going for millions of dollars. And so that's important for people to understand, in terms of my background, who I am, where I come from, and why I advocate as a council member the way that I do.
Now, that is such an amazing story. Now, before we get into this go-go thing, I want to ask you one question I've always wanted to ask you. When you threw your hat into the ring to run for Ward 5 council member, and you were going against people who had historical family lineage in that area, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised were you that you actually won that election?
So I will remind folks, when I ran initially in 2010, I lost. Actually, my tail kicked. It was a race with 4 people. I didn't even come in second. I came in third. And mind you, I was a practicing lawyer at the Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. I was traveling the country, seeing cities that I never would have seen otherwise, like Paducah, Kentucky, Silver City, New Mexico, East Haven, Connecticut. I was in LA, Inglewood. It was my dream job doing civil rights law. I left that job to run for office against Harry Thomas Jr., who today is somebody who, I have a different relationship with. At that point, I didn't really know him as well. I knew his family, but he kicked all of our tails. And so I lost that first race in 2010. But when I ran again in 2012, people did not expect me to win because I didn't even come in second that previous race. They expected me to lose. But I built a coalition of people that was built on family, friends, and all those networks that I had built through the schools that I attended, the people I hung out with. Man, I came up playing ball in the boys' clubs, right? Played basketball at number 10 over 14 at Clifton. Played football at number 12 over in Saratoga. Played baseball at number 9. That was over at Hamilton Junior High, if you go way back. And so I had built up a tremendous network of people who really showed up and supported me in ways that, I'm still indebted to them because of the love and support that they showed me. And I ended up winning in 2012 by a large margin. So I am surprised, when I reflect on it, that people saw something in me that perhaps I'm not sure I had even seen in myself. I had a desire to want to serve, but it really was the love and support of people throughout the District of Columbia that really propelled me to victory in 2012, and again in 14 and in 18.
Interesting, amazing. So moving fast forward, because our internet has been buzzing the whole time. The streets have been talking. Can you please just probably explain from the beginning when you initially thought of the idea that that go-go music should be the official music of Washington? Like, what was the day that it just sparked in you? Was it one incident, or was it just you observing the landscape of knowing that this music was not appreciated?
Man, so you know, everybody you know, in the city, you know, in the region, man, across the country, and some people around the world know what happened to Donald Campbell down at T-Mobile Metro PCS, the corner of Florida Avenue and 7th Street, when some complained and went to T-Mobile about the music that was so familiar with people who grew up in this city, right? I mean, it was synonymous. You drive past that intersection in Shaw, you heard the music that Donald was playing, but you also might stop past and take a picture at the CVS, right, back in the day. And so we were familiar with that. When they shut down that music and that movement started around Don't Mute DC, and people were showing up at these impromptu go-go's at 14th and U with Long Live Go-Go, it was something that inspired me, right? I mean, there were thousands of people showing up for go-go and really representing the culture in a way that I had never seen before, even being a native Washingtonian. And so I was inspired by that. And a friend of mine, Cam Pools, who manages Black Alley, he was like, man, Kenyan, man, you're in a position to really propel this thing and take it to the next level. And he was like, maybe there's something you can do as a council member, maybe a resolution or something. And I started thinking, you know, we have a DC bird. We have an official cocktail. We have all these official things that represent the District of Columbia, but we did not have an official music when I did my research. So I researched and said, you know what? We need to make go-go the official music of the District of Columbia. So I introduced the bill. It was supported by every member of the Council of the District of Columbia. It passed unanimously with all of my colleagues supporting it, and then the mayor signed it into law. And that's how it became the official music of Washington, D.C. But like you said earlier, which is key, it was only the official music on paper, right? We had a law that made it official and said that we wanted the mayor to put in place a system to really protect and preserve go-go, to make sure that you know, that music, those PA tapes and everything can go into the archives. It only said it in name on paper. It did not have any funding associated with it. And so that's why I work hard to take that next step. But that's where it really came from. It was all those people like you representing go-go all these years, showing up, you know, at 7th and Florida Avenue, showing up at 14th and U, showing up down at Freedom Plaza and throwing these go-go's and seeing that hashtag Don't Mute DC, hashtag Long Live Go-Go, where people were saying, man, we have to do more as a city to protect, preserve it, and represent the culture. And that's why I did it.
Okay. So moving forward today, which is August the 26th, we now have an official bill passed. So as of Saturday, when we hosted it, the bill was passed, and there's $3 million allotted. Could you break down? Could you just break down? We give a supreme shout out to Heartbeat that's on here. Heartbeat brother Slick Rick, who's the lead talker of Hot Cold Sweat, passed away of COVID. We love you, Heartbeat. I just wanted to stop in the middle of this to say hello to the whole Hot Cold Sweat OG Go-Go family. We love y'all, Heartbeat. Love. So we now have this bill, and the bill is now $300. So the bill will be in 3 different departments. Could you effectively, in layman terms, break down where the money is going and how it's going to be distributed?
Yeah. So the music go-go became official on February 19th of this year. So it was official on February 19th, but there was no money associated with it. When the mayor sent out a budget, there was no money in there. What I did was identify money within my budget. I chair the council's committee on business and economic development. I identified $2 million. I pulled from various agencies and cut funding from various agencies and really cobbled together $2 million. I then went to the chairman of the council, Phil Mendel, and said, we need more money. And he helped to identify an additional $1 million. And so we pulled together $3 million, which every member of the council supported. We are allocating that money to 3 different entities. $1 million is going to the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. Some of you all might be familiar with, is led by one of the most dynamic agency directors in DC government, Angie Gates. And Angie knows how to get things done. She's a huge supporter of go-go music and the arts and all things entertainment in the District of Columbia. And so $1 million is going to her, and it's going to her to do things like to make sure that we, are doing research around go-go to see what the go-go economy really looks like and how best to allocate that money and where it needs to go to support the bands, the artists, to support making sure that young folks are engaged and that we're helping to propel and inspire that next generation. There's $1 million going to DC public libraries, right?
Okay.
We want to protect the vulnerable go-go historical archives and support, things like digitization of the music, collection, acquisition of go-go related materials in a way that really elevates the music physically and preserves it, the rightful place for go-go in the District of Columbia. And then we're also putting $1 million in Events DC, right? Events DC is important because that investment is going to look at, marketing, branding, promotions, how we incorporate go-go, the official music of DC, much in the same way that Nashville does for country music, much in the same way that New Orleans does for jazz. We want to make sure we incorporate it into, our hospitality industry, with folks who are touring the District of Columbia. It's a huge tourism industry in DC, and we want go-go to be a part of that. And so we're going to make sure that Events DC has $1 million to support the go-go economy, the go-go community in that way as well.
Okay, so I guess my next question would be, how does the average go-go band member get access to this money or participate in the process to be engaged to get this money? Like what role do a normal, regular go-go person would be in order to participate in this money that's now been allocated for go-go music?
That's a great question. So the way we're looking at it is Events DC, as well as the Office of Cable Television and Music, are going to have opportunities for grants to support the industry and to support individuals that support the go-go economy. Specifically, when you look at what Events DC is doing to promote go-go in the tourism industry, it's our hope that they're going to have an entity that is issuing grants directly to support the go-go economy. And so the idea, and this stuff is not finalized. That's an important point the question that you asked, because none of this stuff is finalized.
Okay.
It doesn't even take effect until October 1, right?
Okay.
Get too bogged down into the details to try to keep it in layman's terms, but fiscal year 2021 doesn't begin until October 1st, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the money hits those various entities' budgets. And then you'll see that they're going to write, regulations that describe the criteria that somebody who's interested in applying, then there'll be criteria that outlines what that looks like. That has not yet been done, and it's something I've had some preliminary conversations. I know that people who are interested in go-go have also reached out to various agencies. I know that people like Natalie Hopkinson, Ron Moten, and others who were at the event at Chuck Brown Park on Saturday, they've been following it closely. I facilitated meetings with the agencies to talk through preliminarily some of the ideas that might be put in place, but nothing is etched in stone just yet, because we really want to invite the feedback of the go-go community. And one of the things that I'm looking to do is work with Mayor Bowser and the various agencies and people in the go-go community like yourselves to put together some sort of advisory committee to help inform how this all happens. Because, as much as I love the music, I don't pretend to be the expert like you all are. And so I want you all to help to inform this process.
Okay, because I'm sorry, go ahead, D-Money, go ahead.
Well, I was going to, first of all, thank you for taking time, Congressman, to come through. So this I'm coming from my mentality right now. I'm going to try to come from that band that's been playing in the city that isn't one of your council or city officials known names. It's not the EUs, it's not the backyards, the junkyards, the bands. I'm talking about these bands that's been grinding, that's trying to get on that level. We're talking about, I'm not sure if you know these type bands. I'm talking about bands like UCB, TC, Mental Attraction Band, the Primetime bands, bands on this level. We need information, and I want to make sure I heard you. You said no, the criteria to get the funding from this budget is still being crafted. Is that correct? What I heard?
Yeah, so that is correct what you heard, DJ Money, and I am familiar with them. Look, I'm not as young as I used to be, right? When I was growing up in the go-go, it was all about Essence and Back and Junk and EU and all those folks. But I do know about the new bounce beat. I do know, and I still rock with, folks like UCB. I still rock with folks like TOB, TCB, Lil Chris, Black Bo. They're still doing their thing, and we interact with them regularly.
Okay.
And so it's going to be important for folks to understand that the criteria is not yet established, but as long as I'm on the council, I'm going to follow this stuff so closely to make sure that it's not being driven by one band or one sort of group of bands that are household names, right? Because I know everybody saw the BET Awards and everybody was excited about that, but I also know that there's some folks who grinding who are not getting that sort of notoriety, but they still are doing what they need to do to support themselves and their families and the go-go community. And so we want them all to be a part of that, which is why I think that advisory group is going to be so important to this process.
Now, when you say advisory group, now the advisory group that you're referring to, these are going to be the people that's kind of like making the calls on distribution, what we talking, who's on this, what based on things that's within this bill. Is that what the advisory group is going to be doing? And if so, who from these type of bands on that level can be on the advisory group? Like, who speaks for the little dudes in the game?
That's it. That's a great question. So the advisory group is, as far as I foresee it, and again, that's not even established yet, right?
Okay.
It's in concept, because my thing is, I don't want to get out ahead of the folks who know this industry a lot better than I do, right? And so I think it's important for them to have a seat at the table. Now, what sometimes can be a little tricky is you want the advisory group to be informed by people who know the industry, right? And who are familiar with the processes in every aspect of it. It's not just the artists, right? It's not just the folks who are playing the instruments or the folks who are, leading the bands. It's the folks who, doing lighting and doing the, engineering, who, are working with the schedule of venues and managers. And so my thing is, how do we get some of those folks to help advise how this should work, but at the same time, not create a space where they're conflicted from competing for the grants themselves? Right? So you want the advice to help work through some of these challenges, but you also want those folks to be independent enough from the decision-making so that they can compete to the extent they would like to get grants, right? And so those are some of the things that I'm thinking about and having discussions with folks who are following this closely. So really, it is a work in progress. There's still time, right? And so nobody should feel like this cake is already baked, because it's not. As far as I know, it is not baked. And I know that people like Angie Gates is serious about the work that she does as an agency director. She did 202 Creates. She does a lot of stuff to support the executive. She put on really her shop and DPR with director Delano Hunter, who's a native Washingtonian, grew up in Ward 5. They did Chuck Brown Day, right? And they coordinate that with the different bands. And so there's certain things that through over the last couple of years or so since the movement started, where you've had the interactions and the conversations that have been happening. But I absolutely understand folks who might have some anxiety or concern around not leaving anybody behind, right? If they're not a household name or they're not tied into elected officials or government officials. My thing is, it's $3 million and it's only the beginning, right? So this, as far as I'm concerned, this is not the end all be all when it comes to supporting go-go music. We're talking about a more than $16 billion budget in the District of Columbia, right? And so $3 million is only the beginning as far as I'm concerned. I know that we've had a tough budget year, given the COVID-19 pandemic and the fact that this year we were $721.8 million in the hole. And the mayor had to make cuts and the council, had to make some really tough decisions. But I still figured out a way to work with my colleagues to identify $3 million, despite the fact that a lot of places around the country are cutting things. I'm adding things for GoGo because it means that much to this city of the nation's capital. So this cake is not baked. We need you all to help inform this process to make sure nobody's getting left behind.
Okay, one more question that I wondered, and we keep our ear to the streets, as they say. Another question that I've heard over and over again, being that this is Washington, D.C., the bill is Washington, D.C., a lot, if not the majority, of our go-go bands are Maryland-based organizations. So is it a different criteria do you know of that's going to be for Maryland organizations versus, like, I'm a DJ, I DJ in go-go's, it has affected me somewhat. I'm a Washingtonian, born and raised Washingtonian, whereas some of my counterparts are from PG County. How does the bill affect those that are from PG County, Mo County?
So the bill does not speak to that. And that, again, that's the sort of criteria that the agencies establish. Without getting too far into the weeds with all the legal jargon or the political policy jargon, agencies typically write rules around certain types of administration of grants and things like that, or they'll establish an application criteria. I'll give you an example. When the pandemic first hit, the council drafted an emergency bill where I wrote, with the support of my colleagues, to establish this micro grant program. And the mayor, through the deputy mayor of Planning and Economic Development, wrote a grant application criteria. So you could look online if you wanted to apply, and you could see the criteria laid out that you needed to meet in order to be eligible, right? And so that eligibility criteria is something that has not been established yet. I will say this, I have a special place in my heart for locally based companies and organizations, folks who plant their roots here in the District of Columbia, because as much as I understand our history and know how people like Marion Barry, helped to build that middle class that, fled to gorgeous Prince George's right over the line.
Gorgeous, okay.
Call it Ward 9, right? I know a lot of those folks over there are from the city too, right? And so that's important. But I will say, as somebody who champions CBEs, certified business enterprises, DC-based resident-owned businesses, that's what my priority is. And so I think partnerships, joint ventures, affiliations with locally based organizations and companies is going to be key. But again, that eligibility criteria has not yet been written.
Okay. So
and I think that's the kind of thing, though, that we need to hear you all's insights on, to bring up and let these agencies know that they should have that top of mind when they consider what the application criteria look like.
Okay. Sounds good. Go ahead, Boosie.
I'm sorry. Okay, because I know nigga got a question, but I definitely want to jump in. So there has been a rumor. I don't know if this is a rumor or this is a fact on that, but there has been information circulated that there has been a go-go COVID relief bill, and money has been distributed to go-go bands in the midst of that in the midst of the COVID for bands who are not able to make money while the COVID is going on and clubs are shut down. Is that true?
So I'm not familiar with it.
Is that a factual statement?
But what I was framing my bill as a go-go stimulus, in the sense that city, despite the fact that this is our homegrown genre, the city is, up until recently has never really supported it through a financial investment the way that we're doing now with identifying that $3 million, right? And what I'm saying is we got to do better than simply inviting go-go bands to come and pay them to play, right? We got to support the entire go-go economy, that entire ecosystem that has supported this city for more than 40 years. And so when we did the grant program earlier this year, when the pandemic hit, one of the things that I worked with John Falchicchio on, who's the deputy mayor for Planning and Economic Development, is to make sure that we are accounting for those organizations that aren't large corporations or aren't used to dealing with government. And we had extensive conversations about making sure that we are reaching out to organizations based in wards 5, 7, and 8, where you have the largest amounts of sort of poverty and the sorts of demographics that sometimes don't necessarily connect as often with government. And so it was really good to work with him in that fashion. But he did set aside a portion for businesses and organizations based in wards 5, 7, and 8. But we also had conversations of making sure that we were considering arts organizations, music organizations, independent contractors and things like that when we were issuing those micro grants earlier this year. So I'm not sure if some of the folks you're referring to who talk about a go-go COVID plan are talking about that. But I have been mindful to make sure that as we have responded to the pandemic with financial support, that we're not just supporting the same folks that already had existing relationships with DC government because they apply for and have received grants in the past. We wanted to make sure that entities that were really struggling, who perhaps have never received a grant from the District of Columbia, had an opportunity to apply, which also means that we had to meet them where they are, right? We couldn't just wait for them to show up and apply. We had to go and do outreach through unconventional means to let them know that this fund, this micro grant fund even existed to begin with. And they got thousands of applications for the micro grant fund. So I'm not certain whether people are conflating the two things, but the money that I helped to identify and put in the budget hits on October 1. But there was a micro grant program that I worked with the mayor and the deputy mayor and my colleagues to establish back in around March that really got up and running around April, and then the grant started to hit around May and June.
Okay, because and the reason why I asked that because there's a rumor circulating that the government has been passing out money as almost like a COVID stimulus to supplement for bands when not playing, and some people say it is, some people say.
Well, there's a local micro grant program, but there's also the federal PPE program, right? So I'm sorry, the federal PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, where some businesses were able to apply and organizations could apply through that federal program with their banks and their community development financial institutions and get grants in that way. So, some barbershops, hair salons, and other organizations were able to apply to that federal PPP program, which was the program of the Federal Small Business Administration. But then locally, we had the micro grants program through the deputy mayor's office. And maybe there were some folks who got grants in that way. But there was a number of grants that did go out, going all the way up to $25,000. But a lot of the grants ranged about, $2,500, $5,000, and things like that. So maybe that's what some folks will get.
Okay, this is my last question because I know Nika Ray has some questions. I definitely want her to get this in. Just for people who don't know, because once again, there are a lot of rumors. Could you tell us what is Ron Moulton's role in this? Because some people seem to feel like he is like the head of it, and then everything trickles down. And then some people have told me, well, he's just one part, he's just one piece, he's one organization. If you could just break down in the $3 million bill that you have already allotted, what is Ron Moulton's role? Because I think a lot of people are under the assumption that he has more power or he's in a leadership position, and maybe you could clear that for people as well, because there are a lot of rumors being thrown around about that.
So the $3 million were allocated to those three entities that we talked about earlier: Events DC, DC Public Libraries, and the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. Ron Moulton or anybody at all, right? Name the name. Nobody was allocated any money from that $3 million. So I get the question, and we can clear that up. I know Ron really well. Going all the way back to the Pizzaholic days. What people should probably understand, as far as my interactions, Ron has been a champion for Go-Go, right? I mean, he was a part of that petition on Don't Mute DC, working with Natalie Hopkinson, but he works with Big G. He works with other bands to make sure he's lifting up and elevating the music. And so my interactions with Ron has been as an advocate and a champion for go-go, making sure that those resources flow to the people, to the artists, to the bands, and to others that are in the economy, the go-go economy. And so there's nothing earmarked for Ron Moten specifically, just like there's nothing earmarked for any particular band or individual member of a band or anybody else in that go-go economy. It is going to be, as far as it's been conceived, a program that allows for people to apply and compete and for grants to be awarded in that way. And it's not just going to be all for grants either, right? Part of this is helping to develop and cultivate the go-go community in a way that they can respond to calls from government to apply for grants. Some people just simply aren't even in a position to apply for a government grant, and we want to change that. Some people have never relied on government for anything. They just did it for the love of the music, right? And that's great. But there's no individual, whether it's Ron Moten or anybody else, who has been specifically allocated any portion of that $3 million. And so I appreciate the question. We can clear that up. I know that, Yadiya is doing his thing with Long Live Go-Go. I know that there are other people who are not household names, as we talked about before, who deserve an opportunity just as much as anybody else who's been in this for 40 years. Those younger folks who've been in it for, 3, 5, 10 years, just like people who just getting involved and have an interest in it, should be afforded an opportunity to compete for a grant or some way to be able to support that go-go economy. So that's what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. And anybody who's worried about that should understand, when I drafted that law, it wasn't about any individual. Now, we also, and I think this is important, Ron Moten has been doing this sort of work long enough to be very savvy when it comes to politics and policy. He understands the inner workings of government. And so he knows how to, reach out, send emails, develop a petition, build those coalitions, and reach across people who have opposing views. And so he's good at that. And it's not a shot at anybody else. It's just recognizing that some people have been involved for a while, which is why we have to make sure those folks who have not been involved, who don't know how government works, who frankly don't really care for politics as it relates to government, they still should get an opportunity. And frankly, that's my role. And people who are in positions like me who are elected, it's our jobs to meet those folks where they are, to show up, when they convene things. Just like when I was thinking through these things, I was convening people at different places to hear from them directly, so that they didn't think this was Kenyan McDuffie, council member. They understood that this was Kenyan McDuffie, third generation native Washingtonian, really trying to amplify the voices of the masses who have been grinding day in, day out, whether it's 40 plus years or 4 years or 4 months.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I just want to clear that up.
No problem. Thanks again for answering all these questions. I know we're probably hitting you with a lot, but I think, like, on the outside looking in, we as a community, go-go community, want to know who is actually representing us. So we understand what your position is, but then you say you have these counterparts and you have these, other groups and organizations that you work with or that you speak with. We want to know who exactly are part of these committees. How do we get involved? How do we find out who these people are? Because when there are some meetings or different events that do come about where people are speaking on go-go, we don't know who some of these people are, or it's people that are always the chosen selected ones. So we always see Ron Moten. We always see the big G's. You know what I mean? So we see these faces, we know these faces, but that's not all of us. So we want to make sure that each entity is represented, but how do we know who these people are? How do we reach out? I understand that you stated that Ron Moten may have the inner workings and may have the connections and know these different people to reach out. Why can't we know who those people are?
That's real. And I appreciate that question so much, Nika, because I'm a quick aside. I had a meeting today with some young brothers where honestly, I called them together, and as a young brother who helped to facilitate it, because I felt like the work that I was doing was not reaching people, and I wasn't doing a good enough job in communicating what happens down at the Wilson Building with the people in the communities, right? And so I say to say that your question is a very important one, because there are certain people, the Ron Motons, the Big G's, that have been at this for a really long time and know how to navigate. And frankly, sometimes they don't have to do anything. They can sit back and chill, and people gonna call them, right? Because they're familiar with their names and they're familiar with their work. That's a positive thing for them, but it doesn't necessarily help to uplift other people out there who are similarly in the trenches putting in the work. And so when you say who's representing, it really depends on how the information is being disseminated, right? So we did an event on Saturday, right, to really announce that go-go stimulus and the $3 million that we were able to identify at the council. And Big E, he was the MC, right? I can't really tell you right now how Big E found out. I know Big E since we was in the sandbox, going to St. Martin's Day Camp, banging on the buckets, right, in the Pioneer Room, trying to make go-go, right? But I don't even know, honestly, how he found out, because it's just, you know how it is. It's just like if you go into a go-go, right? You might hear about it, back in the day, it was word of mouth and people promoted it. You saw signs up, all those globe signs over the place. Now it's social media, it's IG, it's Facebook, it's Twitter. And so I think it is important that people understand there is no single person or any single band, as far as I'm concerned, that represents the entirety of go-go. Go-go is not monolithic. There's no one go-go community. It's made up of different people, right? And so I guess I would say I can't name on my hand who's representing go-go, because there's lots of people who are representing go-go. What I can tell you is when I do something, I reach out to the people who I know and try to push it out to the masses so that they understand what's happening. As I mentioned earlier, when I decided to introduce the bill, it was based on sitting back, watching that movement, and I showed up. I showed up before TVU. I showed up at 7th and Florida myself to be a part of that movement because I believed in it and I understood how important it was to the District of Columbia. And so I'm always trying to reach out and figure out better ways to interact, which is why when E said, can you come on this show? I'm like, yeah, bet. I'm going to be on the show because I'm going to reach people who probably never even heard of Kenyan McDuffie, despite the fact that I'm a 45-year-old native Washingtonian that been in the same hood basically my entire life. So there's no set group of people representing go-go, but I would flip it onto y'all and say, what do I need to do as an elected official, right? As a chair of the Committee on Business and Economic Development, what do I need to do more of, or what do I need to do differently to reach those folks who need to be at the table, who can then reach out to their networks and their connections to make sure that nobody's being left behind and that this is as inclusive as possible.
I can answer. I have a question, but I can answer that last part real easy. The Blend Show. That's who you reach out to. We are your social media outlet. We have it's the blend. It's no old school show. It's not a bounce beat show. It's not a grown and sexy show. It's the blend. We are a gumbo of all eras of go-go. That's what this show is compiled of. But one thing, Councilman, that I want a little clarity on. I don't know if I misheard how you said it. Did I take it wrong? You said that you reach out when you have something. You're reaching out to those that you feel are reaching out to different people of the go-go community. But as a person who's also been in the go-go since yay back in the day, you know what I'm saying? When I see the same people on panels, when I see the same bands on performances or any programs that's related to go-go, I ask myself, if you're the source that's asking certain people to reach out, you don't see that it's the same people over and over again and say, well, wait a minute, how much reaching out are you doing? Because I see the same people on the panel. I see the same performers on cards. I think that's one of the main issues when it comes, and I'm going to keep it 1,000.
Yeah.
When it comes to hearing Ron Moulton's name in these, when it comes to how the money is going to be distributed or who gets on this or who does that, because every time we see something, I see the same people. I see the same people, and I also see a lot of people that are from go-go from way back when. They have no touch on what go-go is happening today because I don't see them in the, when we were active. I didn't see these people in the go-go's of the 2000s. They were hyped in the 80s and the 90s, but the 2000s, you ask them who was that, they have no idea because they don't even relate to them. So how is it that they're always on the card, or what do you say when you see the same people, same bands on all of these functions, if you're using them to reach out to the masses?
It's relationships, right? I think a lot of stuff boils down, real talk, to relationships, right? And so if I know that somebody shows up when we reach out, then I'm more likely to make sure they're on the list when I reach out again, right? And if we're putting out word and we connect with folks and they don't show up, and I'm not talking about anybody, just so it's clear, right? Because generally when I reach out, people do show up. And I appreciate that about people who make the sacrifices of their time and energy to show up. But I think it really boils down to relationships, which is part of this work. Like I was talking about the meeting I had earlier, is because I felt like I wasn't reaching all the people that needed to be in the room. Those young folks that I with today, they are not my generation. Right? Some of them are young enough to be my kids. You know what I mean? But I ran into Dante, I ran into Tay. Well, y'all know who Tay is, but I ran into him a few weeks ago, and I was like, look, I appreciate what you're saying. And frankly, he was giving it to me 1,000. He gave me a critique of what he thought I could be doing better or differently. And I appreciated that, right? Because I'm of a generation, and I was raised by a father that made me understand that you should be always open to people who are trying to educate you, whether it's somebody that's older and considered wiser or somebody that's younger that just simply has a different perspective, right? So when I said earlier that I reach out to certain people when I'm trying to do something, I'm reaching out to the folks who I have relationships with that exist, but I'm also asking them to push it out. So there was a young man, and you might remember who it is. I don't remember his name, but he was standing off to the side on Saturday. His question was, when it comes to this $3 million, how are we going to make sure that it's not the same bands and the same people, that different generation? And he used the phrase bounce beat generation, right? How are they getting? And so he raised that question. And I hollered at him as I was leaving. I talked to him again to say, look, so long as I'm in his office, I'm going to make sure that we're trying to connect as many people as possible. I'm going to be back on the Blend Show if y'all don't have me. Of course. About this as the process goes along, because inevitably there are going to be some people who feel like it's only a select few that's getting access. That's always the case, and it shouldn't be that way, right? I mean, I didn't like politics growing up because they didn't look like the people from my neighborhood, right? They didn't dress like the folks, talk like the folks from my neighborhood, and so I couldn't relate. And I think part of this is identifying people like yourselves. And when I reach out from now on, making sure I'm reaching out to folks at the Blend, in addition to the Yada Yadas of the world, the Ron Moultons of the world, the Big G's of the world, and everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, just for the record, so we can give this person his props. That was Shooters from ABM. So Shooters just kind of showed up, tall guy Shooters, and I saw you guys having a conversation. Yeah. And Shooters showed up. We didn't know Shooters was coming. Shooters is an ABM band, is a bounce beat band from Maryland, but he's kind of intertwined. And he showed up and he asked you a lot of tough questions. So I want to give Shooters his respect for showing up out of nowhere, asking you that question in front of everybody. So go ahead.
The Shooters, that's real right there.
Nika, go ahead. Go ahead, Nika.
I was going to say, I know that we've been talking about you and the relationships that you have because those people show up. But I think at this point, as a council member, if you're trying to reach the masses, especially like even in politics, period, you want to reach more than just who you know. So there has to be a little bit more effort that's put into making sure that the masses are coming out. Because again, if you're relying on your same relationships to bring out the same people that always show up, you're not reaching more people.
Yeah.
So I think like now you as a, just like I said, outside looking in, you have to look at the point of, okay, we have social media, but you still got to push that paper just like you would if people were promoters in the street putting flyers on cars. They don't know who car they're putting a flyer on, but they're still giving that invite. So we need to make sure that those people who are attending these go-go's that we may not know are still getting the word so that they can show up. And they may be people that'll show up again and time again and time again, but we won't know unless we get it. Because I mean, it's been plenty of events that I found out after it happened or as it was going on, and I'm like, I feel like I'm well connected. I know G, like I know Michelle Blackwell, I know Ron Moat, and I know these people, but it didn't reach me. And for me to have those relationships and it still didn't get to me, I feel like we have to do a better job of making sure that we get the word out, because now you have a greater community, like you said, that you saw show up during the Don't You Go-Go, Don't You DC events. We need to reach those masses. Those people need to always know when we have council meetings or any type of event going on. So what do you think you can do in the future to make sure that you're reaching out to those people to make sure that we can show up?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Nika, and I'll accept that 100. I'll accept that. You know, again, that's part of why my outreach is kind of shifting a little bit, and I rely on my staff too, some of whom are younger than me, are of that generation, where they can connect in a different way. So I will say this: I push things out in the different venues and avenues that I think is going to reach people. So when I said earlier, I reach out to the folks who I have relationships with, I was also not just saying that that's all I reach out to, right? We post stuff on social media and every platform. I do it from my office accounts, and sometimes I do it from my personal accounts too. I know, and I have staff, Silas Grant, Jonathan McNair, native Washingtonians that grew up in this city, that are frankly more connected to this than I am. They've been pushing me to do more on social media, to connect more in different ways, and to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more. And I'm taking them up on that. And so you're gonna see me doing more of that. And that's one of the things that I recognize that I can do differently to connect to a broader audience. But I don't duck any interactions, right? So when people call me out, whether it's on IG, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter or what have you, I'm going to show up and have that conversation. If you try to have a conversation and we figure out how to move the ball forward, what I'm not going to show up for is somebody that just want to throw darts. If you're about solutions and building that tent out so more people can eat and more people can get opportunities, then that's what I'm here for. That's why I ran. And that's what I'm most proud of when it comes to my work. So I'll accept, Nika, that I have not done as well as I could have. But again, I'm relying on those methods that I'm aware of. But I'm also asking, what do we need to do differently? So it wasn't that I was only reaching out to the people that I have relationships with. It was that I was reaching out to those folks and then asking them to push it out. But then I've also been trying to figure out, email is not reaching everybody.
Right.
Not reaching everybody. I don't have a Snap account. I don't have, TikTok. I don't do none of that stuff. But you got to let me know what you think I should be doing. Coming on the blend some more. Going on different stations, then I will do that. If y'all tell me what y'all think I need to do to step it up, then I'm going to be the one that does that. And if I don't, then y'all hold me accountable and call me out.
Absolutely. Trust me, we will. But I also do want to mention that these are, we have go-go platforms that I feel like aren't being utilized. I feel like a lot of times we hear a bunch of things, or we see that there are a lot of advertisement dollars that are being pushed on the terrestrial radio, but it's not being pushed on the platforms that are made for the go-go community. So when we don't have you or anyone else to come on our show or any other platform, sometimes you are missing those people. Absolutely. So you coming back and making sure that we're aware of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what the show is. This is who's invited. And just so that we know what's going on in our own community, not just being in DC, but being a part of the go-go community, because go-go community is not just in DC.
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that. And I'm not saying this for any credit or accolades, but this was so important to me because I'd never been on this show, right? Me and E go way back, right? This was so important to me because this is more than just about a show of support for go-go music. This is about a show of support for the people who make go-go music work, the people in the culture. Whether I'm talking about the folks who just show up to support, to pay their money. You know what I mean? I'm talking about everybody that has been a part of this go-go ecosystem forever, but also the new folks. And so I showed up and I wanted to be a part of this, and I'm committing to coming back. But I'm gonna say this. I don't know the last time I spent this much time talking to anybody, but I've enjoyed this. I have a hearing tomorrow, right? And this is important to me. I've been down in my office in the Wilson building all day preparing. I got stuff that I brought home with me that I got binders that I'm going through of information that I brought home because I take this work so seriously. But despite all that stuff that I had going on today, and I have tomorrow to deal with a $1.5 billion Medicaid contract, right? This is serious, but I wanted to make sure I spent time with y'all because y'all are part of that DNA in the District of Columbia. Y'all are part of that soundtrack that people listen to make sure that they understand what's happening in the city. And so this is the first time that I'm showing up on the blend, but I hope y'all would invite me back and we get a chance to chat and wrap it up in the future as well.
We are. But also this though, I just want to say this though, and first of all, I think Nika, your questions have been amazing. You were spot on, but I do think we need to understand this while we're all having this conversation. Kenyan McDuffie is not the council member of GoGo, and there's ways that you can connect with him. You can follow Kenyan McDuffie on social media. You can follow his Twitter page. You can follow the DC Council and see as well, because along with being the person that offered the GoGo bill, he has a whole ward that he is responsible for. So I do think in some ways it's kind of unfair for us to shoot everything at him when we're not engaging. But what we have done today is we have started the conversation and the line and change of communications. But moving forward, we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to stay in touch with Kenyan McDuffie? What can we do to stay engaged with Kenyan McDuffie? Because once again, he is not the council member of Go-Go Music in Ward 5. He was just one person who created the legislation, and I don't want to start the blame game where we're just all shooting things at Kenya without not understanding the role that we could play in engaging ourselves in what's going on when these budgets and these grants come available. So that's the main thing. We can start following Kenya now. We can start hitting them up on Twitter, talking to his staff members, emailing him. His email is public document as well. So okay, despite the fact that we're all asking these tough questions, you can engage yourself moving forward with Kenya right now. And I would love that to be stated and documented as well. Okay, so before we get you out of here, and I would love to ask you this question, what do you hope comes out of the stimulus bill now? Now that we have it here, it is on the table, we know that October the 1st is coming. What do you really hope comes out of the stimulus bill? What do you hope the success stories will be?
My real ultimate hope is that people understand that this isn't simply about $3 million, right?
Right.
I mean, let's be real about it. $3 million is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, in the context of that, you know, nearly $17 billion budget, $3 million is a drop in the bucket. What we have to recognize is that power is in the people. Right? People might look at me and say, oh, well, Kenyan McDuffie's in a powerful position. I derive my power from the folks who elect me into office. And so the power is with the folks who showed up at those go-go's, right? Whether it was at, you know, one of the venues to go, you know, hear a band play, or whether you showed up at one of the, you know, 14th EU or 7th in Florida to support the cause. That's power. Right. And so when you say that people can reach out to me too, and they can follow me on Twitter or IG or something like that, I appreciate that, man, because that means a lot. You know, I think, but I also recognize that a lot of people don't follow politicians because they don't connect with politicians, right? Politicians aren't like them or their families. They don't look at politicians and see, you know, images of themselves. And what I'm trying to communicate to people is that I am of this city. You know, I'm not saying I grew up just like everybody else, because I didn't. But what I'm saying is I represent people in the city, and I want y'all to know that you have a person who is fighting for y'all, whether it is go-go or whether it is education or whether it is affordable housing or whether it started a small business. I want to make sure that people in this city have the opportunities to do and be all that they can. And it might sound a little trite, you know what I mean? But it's really what I'm all about. And so this is only the beginning. And I think that's important. I think there's a lot of anxiety and concern and people say, oh, well, who's at the table? Because people think maybe this ain't gonna happen ever again. And if it doesn't, then shame on us. Shame on me. Shame on the folks that get elected to office and go down there and put all this money to all these other programs, to all these organizations that aren't based in the district, all these nonprofits that are represented by people who don't look like the communities that they claim to represent, right? If this is a one-off, then shame on us. But as far as I'm concerned, this cannot be a one-off. This can't simply be $3 million in fiscal year 2021, and that's it. This needs to be woven into the fabric of our city so that when you arrive at National Airport or you arrive on a train at Union Station, or even if you ride your bike along New York Avenue, right? You hear go-go. You understand that this is a city that embraces this music, this homegrown genre. And that's ultimately what this is all about to me.
Okay, so great. So I do think this, then maybe we should do this because let's do a small review for everybody because we got a bunch of people chiming in. So as of right now, August the 26th, Wednesday at 9:43 p.m., there has been no money allocated and given out yet from this $3 million bill. That is a fact, right?
That's a fact.
That's a fact. And the money does not get allocated or distributed until the fiscal budget, which is the beginning of October. That would be October the 15th, right?
So that's when the fiscal year 2021 starts, October 1st, 2020, this year. But it doesn't mean once October 1st comes, money just starts going out of the door.
Right. I want to get that straight.
Yeah, we're just trying to have those conversations now and hopefully pull this advisory group together. And it is not done yet, but hopefully pull something together so that the infrastructure is in place as close as possible to October 1.
Right.
The criteria might not be written until October 15th or November 15th. I'm hoping that it's not, December 25th before things start to hit the street. But the reality is, it is go-go. This is unprecedented.
Right.
This has ever happened in this way. So, October 1 is just the time when the money hits the budget. It's almost like to say, the date that you get paid and that money hits your direct deposit, the money hits the city's budget on October 1. But it doesn't mean that the money starts to flow on that same date. They still have to put in place the program in each one of those three agencies to make sure.
And that's the main thing I wanted to get straight because there's so many rumors of money already being passed out of this budget and people are getting it. I just wanted to make sure. So as of right now, for everybody listening, there has been no money distributed or giving out. That process does not start to October the 1st. You can now position yourself and find out what the criteria is to obtain the money. So I would ask you next is there a website or is there a central location where people can obtain the information to know what the process is to obtain the money once October the 1st comes?
So there's not a central website, but the money, three different agencies. So what I'll try to do, and again, that's why this advisory group that needs to be established is so important because that I'm seeing may be one of the primary channels of communication. There's no central website, right? And let me be clear, let me back up. If somebody's getting money and they say they're getting money for go-go from the city, I don't know anything about that. I have no clue. What I'm saying is, as far as I know, the budget hasn't even started yet. And frankly, this might be a little bit in the weeds, but I have oversight of financial policy and like tax policy in the city too with my committee. What I know is the chief financial officer of the District of Columbia is going to make another revenue estimate soon, right? September likely. And who knows? The chief financial officer might say that the revenue we thought we were getting for 2021 is less, right? And if he down grades the revenue estimate and says it's going to be less, it means that we might have to revisit that 2021 budget and make cuts, right? I'm not trying to I'm not trying to paint this doomsday scenario. I'm just telling folks the reality of how things work. And I want everybody to understand that this is what has been planned, what's in the budget. It starts on October 1. But I also know that the CFO is looking at the numbers. He's looking at the revenue that's coming in from taxes right now, and he's going to give another revenue estimate, likely in a few weeks in September at some point, to say, we said that the city was going to get this much in revenue for fiscal year 2021, which is October 1, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, that year. If he says, you know what, it's going to be $50 million less than what I thought, or $100 million less than what I thought, or $500 million less than what I thought, it means that the council and the mayor are going to have to revisit this thing and figure out either how to increase revenues by increasing taxes to generate more money into the city, or by cutting programs or agencies to take money out because we're not realizing as much. I hate to try to give us civics lessons, but I think it's important for folks to understand what we're up against in the midst of a global pandemic of the likes that we've never seen in not only in DC, but around the world, right? And we're also seeing calls for racial justice because people are dying over and over again at the hands of police. And so there are a lot of things that are going around right now. What I'm saying is, even in the midst of all that stuff that's going on, we gotta look out for go-go music and support that economy, that industry, and that community.
Okay, I wanted to ask two more questions before we go, because I know we're about to wrap up. One, I know you said there isn't a website, but how is the board for, I think you said the advisory board that are going to determine what the criteria is for the grants? Like, how is that board going to be determined as far as
there is no advisory board. There's no determination about how it's coming together. I did not legislate that. And so maybe I should have, but I did not legislate that. So there's no bill that you can look to say the advisory group is going to be compiled in this way. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's something that should be in place in order to help inform this process. My thought is I'm going to work with, probably Angie Gates and the folks in the executive to think through how this might work. But I would welcome any ideas that y'all have about how we pull that together. It has not been established. There's no criteria for it, but I welcome your ideas about how that should work. And what I would do is I would take your feedback and say, Director Gates, what do you think about this? They've done this kind of thing through the executive before, but I think it's important that we get the feedback from folks about what that should look like.
And that was going to be my second question. So with that being said, how do us as our show, or even anyone listening or whoever may watch the replay, get in touch with you to put in those suggestions? Like, I know you said there wasn't a website for the grants or anything like that, but how do we get connected with you so that we can put in that
you can reach out to me or my office. I'm so horrible at this that I don't even know all the different and all that stuff, but I'm Kenyan McDuffie. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. We're on Facebook. If you reach out to us and reach out to CM McDuffie, it's usually CM _McDuffie. Then and reach out to us directly. Then we'll get that input and we can make sure that we're pushing it to the correct agency. But what I would like to do, frankly, is to work directly with one of y'all in my office, probably Silas Grant or Jonathan McNair in my office, so that we can have that communication channel. To the extent people are reaching out to y'all can reach directly. So
I volunteer Nika Ray for that.
Yeah,
I volunteer Nika Ray to do that.
Okay,
Nika Ray, you officially with McDuffie now. This is great. You go right ahead, Nika Ray.
Can you make sure you connected with Silas for me?
Well, we're all good friends of, as we call him, Salmo. We all good friends of Sal.
Yeah. We all know Sal. No problem. I got you. I got it.
Okay. Well, that answered my question. So
I just had one final question, and I guess I'm kind of asking for myself, but also for the younger generation, because like you, I'm in your age bracket. I played in some of the places that you were hanging out that you mentioned earlier. That first, and also let me say your history. I'm shocked. I've seen you on TV. I've seen you in public. I'm a Ward 4 resident, so I've seen you, but I had no idea you were that DC resident foundation, and I applaud you for that. That gave me a whole different vision towards you, Mr. Councilman. I swear it did. I'm keeping it real. I swear it did. So my question to you is this. You mentioned relationships. Real, if I know it takes a time, but real briefly, how would you advise to start a relationship with someone as yourself? Because like I said, I'm a grown man, but I wouldn't know how to start a relationship that you felt comfortable to, you know what I'm saying, engage me in some of the moves. When you got powers, you be like, well, I know this DJ, but this DJ right here, D Money, he from Ward 4. He might reach everybody from Roosevelt, Coolidge, all the way up to Wilson. Like, how would you advise a person like me to bond a more relationship with someone like yourself?
I would say just reach out, right? Just reach out in any way that you think you can reach somebody like me. And I will pick up the phone if you get the number. I will respond on social media, except I'm kind of whack on Facebook. I don't do the messenger thing because it's just overwhelming to me. I can't respond. So I would say, but if you know E or you, I guarantee you, each of y'all and each of your listeners and people that's viewing y'all know somebody that knows me. Whether they know me from playing ball with number 10 or Kingman, or playing football with number 12 or Carl, playing ball at Wilson. I mean, somebody knows, and I'm not saying that you got to know me in order to reach out to me, but if you reach out, email me. I'm at kmcduffie@dccouncil.us. Like I said, I'm on all the social media outlets, at least the three major ones. I will respond the best way I can, as quickly as I can. And even better, if you know somebody that knows me, reach out to them and they'll reach out. If you know somebody that's on my staff is diverse, and a lot of them live in Ward 5, but not all of them, right? I mean, we have people that live in other parts of the city that work on my staff. Reach out to them on my staff. All our information, our work information is published online at the council's website. Get to know the council a little bit, right? I mean, get to know the council a little bit. And, you know, it's your council. We represent your all's interests, and you all pay us. If you live in a district, you pay taxes, then you pay my salary. Right, and I work for the people of the District of Columbia. I'll never forget that. I don't always agree with everybody, but I know who I represent, and I'm privileged and honored to be able to represent the city that I call home, that I love. It's the best job in the world. And so, if you don't have a relationship with me, feel free to reach out in any way that you think you could, whether it's social media, whether it's through the website or what have you, and I'll do my best to respond. Some people have called me out. Right, and I'll do a Zoom in a minute. I'll have a Zoom meeting, and we'll connect in that way. Whatever way I can, safely in this pandemic. I try to avoid the in-person stuff because I don't want to compromise people. This COVID-19 pandemic is serious, and it's killing us more than anybody else. Right, it's killing Black people more than any other race. Black and brown people are dying at numbers because typically we're on the bottom when it comes to health outcomes in the city. And so hopefully that answers your question, DJ Money, man. I serve and I want to connect with more people so that people understand the work that I'm doing and they can help me do my job better.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you so much for, definitely being welcoming to this transparency. And I know you're stating that that's how you always are. So I hope you stay that way. But I think like a lot of people,
when he becomes mayor,
I think a lot of people get deterred from politics, and being in that realm. But like, as you said, they pay they pay taxes, they pay your salary. So I think it's good to have someone on this platform to be able to speak to what's going on in their city. And I think not only for the go-go bill that just was in legislation, then also with the taxes and the schools and things like that, they have somebody that represents them and they know where they can go.
Yeah, and again, my staff is really holding me accountable. They understand what I enjoy about the job, but they also understand the stuff that I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy chasing microphones and being in front of big crowds. It comes with the job, and I have to do it, but it's not something that I relish. I don't relish, doing putting my phone up, doing a Facebook Live, doing an IG TV. It's just not something that I'm. This might sound crazy, but I'm naturally an introvert. Unless you know me, you really don't know me, which is one of the reasons I started to post the pictures from back in the day so people can relate, because I felt like people weren't relating to who I am and what I'm made of. My DNA is DC. My DNA is DC. My mother, born and raised up at Tiffin Park Road, graduated, from schools in the District of Columbia, Raymond, went to Banneker Junior High, Gordon Junior High, Western. My dad grew up right here in this house, went to Brookland, went to Taft, went to Langley, went to Bell to be an electrician. My uncles went to Tech. This is who I am. You will not find anybody on that council that loves that city. And I'm not trying to put anybody down.
We get it.
This is my city. I'm not transient. I'm not going anywhere. My wife, Princess, is from this city. She grew up on Newcomb Street in Ward 8. She went to Watkins, Stewart, and Banneker. My daughters are right here. Like, we're raising a family here. We want to be here. We want the city to look like us. And we want my daughters to be able to see images of success and not just, in one part of the city, but throughout the city, right? And that's important. And I'm committing to coming back on the blend, just like I'm committing to make sure that we're reaching out to people who don't conventionally connect with government. And if y'all can help and you think it's something I should be doing, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or somebody who on my staff or otherwise knows me, so we can try to do that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, look here, my brother. I want to thank you for taking your time out. And I want to say, and I know Nika Ray gets on me on making sure I don't personalize any interview when she gets on me about this. You cannot get personal. You cannot get personal. Please, Nika, allow me this pass. For a man that is a DC public school native, a 2-time dropout of UDC, go back for a 3rd time, work at the post office with everybody else to become this amazing trailblazer and advocate for people who don't have a voice. This is amazing to have you on here, but I am so lucky and appreciative to have you as my friend as well. And let me say this, because I won't get emotional. I know for a fact your mama, because I know his mother really good. His mother and my mother were really close to the day she passed away. You are an amazing representation of your mother and your community. And I just want to say thank you. And I cannot wait to the day you become mayor. And I'm going to leave that there. McDuffie, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming.
No doubt.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Now, before he leaves, he already told y'all to reach out. Kenyan McDuffie, CM McDuffie on all social media platforms. This man threw it out there. You know how to engage. You know how to reach him. You know your story. You know he identifies. The ball is now in your court because he is not the council member of Go-Go Music. He's the council member of the whole Ward 5. So please don't think this is his only job as his friend. Thank you, my brother. I love you and I appreciate you, man.
No doubt about it. Let's help these youngins put these guns down and put the peace up, man. I love y'all.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to get back.
Absolutely.
Sure. Give it up for the councilman.
And be clear. We put him in the hot seat. So can't nobody say nothing. We threw every question known to man. So can't nobody say this was some softball questions. It was some nice stuff. We threw him in the fire and he responded. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hope this answered a bunch of questions of who is getting the money, who you think is in charge, who you think has already got money. He answered everything for you. If you did not get it, go back and look at the replay because he answered everything.
Yeah, I really think that a lot of rumors were squashed. Let's keep it 1,000. I don't know if he's still in the chat. Let's keep it 1,000 because that's what we do. Joe Jack, we seen all your questions. We've seen all your questions. Once again, there comes a time where it is a tactful way of getting the information that is needed. So it wasn't direct, like he said. He's not the council member of Go-Go. He just happened to be the council member that stood up, that took a leadership role of his leadership role and presented a bill that put it out there. You know what I'm saying? So we got to applaud that. I think, Nika, we closed a lot of chapters. Like the main ones that I wanted to really touch, and I think he clarified it, was there has not been any distribution of funds from the bill proposal budget that's coming up. There has not been anything. There is no council member, there is no panel, there is no board that's distributing or calling shots, because nothing has been distributed, because there's nobody in position to distribute anything that is not even there. Correct. So we keep building on the same thing. We all know Ron Moulton personally, so we had to come direct with precise names, so there was no talking in subliminals. We dropped the Pacific name in there, and it was made clear that yes, he does reach out to Ron Moulton, because he knows Ron Moulton has is in touch with the go-go community and certain assets. And I took that position, that door, and I wanted to make it like, okay, then why is it the same people on the panels and the same bands on the shows all the time? I think he addressed that. I tried to speak for, as they say, the little dude on the totem pole. Did Bootsy really do that? Right?
He did.
I'm so sorry.
You know what? Got to take him back out.
Oh wow. So I mean, Nika, I got a lot of things that I think I got clarity on, not only for myself, but I think as a show we did what we do, we got clarity on for the people. I know you have some things.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad that, again, that he was being transparent and answering the questions. He ain't dodge, he ain't duck. But I think that there were a lot of misconceptions of, as he kept putting it, he's not the council member of Go-Go. And I think a lot of people keep looking at it just because he stood up for Go-Go, that he was trying to be the end-all be-all or the god of Go-Go. That's not the case. Right. You know what I mean? Like, he loves Go-Go just as much as we do. He stood up and did something about it. And it kind of took me back when he, you know, as we were talking about it, just like us, like we took the initiative to do the Go-Go Awards when no one else was doing it. But we never,
say that again. Yeah,
you know, I mean, but you know, we didn't have Go-Go Awards for however many years prior to us doing it. And it was something we felt that we wanted for Go-Go. We never said that it was going to be the last one that was had. We never said, you know, that we had the best one or whatever the case may be, but we stood up for Go-Go. And that's just how we felt about it. And it doesn't take away from who we are as personalities or even being public figures within Go-Go and being a part of the Go-Go community. That doesn't take away from that. And I think that's also what E was trying to express when he said, you know, again, he's not the council member for Go-Go. He is a council member for Ward 5. And not only is he standing up for Go-Go, but you also realize a lot of people that are tuned in, you now have a new relationship or a new connection or ally with someone within the community who is for schools and the bills for that and the bills for your taxes and everything like that. And again, y'all pay the taxes, y'all pay his salary. So why not get to know where your money is going, especially if you live in the city? And I understand that sometimes politics and policies and all these other people can be intimidating, because it's just like, how am I supposed to know who's for this, who's for that? I mean, we deal with this every 4 years when we got to elect a president. So this ain't nothing new.
Right.
But it's just your hometown. So you should be more involved. So granted, you may not have known where to start, but I feel like after watching this show, or at least watching the playback, you'll know who you can reach out to if you need information. And maybe that just needs to be, I don't want to say a class, but maybe an event to help people get to know who these people are that are representing us, what they do, how bills are going to be passed, what they can do on their end to help push things forward.
Right. I really, real quick, I really want to thank you, because not only for the linkage that you brought him on, but for giving him the opportunity when he dropped his native DC history.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening close, because I didn't want to hear I went to HU. I'm like, okay, that's in your adulthood. I need your foundation. Not HU. Okay, let me say that. I didn't want to hear I went to HU, I went to UDC, I went to American University, because
Columbia,
I need the foundation.
Harvard.
I wanted the roots to hear that he hung out at Banneker. He was in the black hole with me. He was hanging up Wilson. I probably played against him when he dropped his age.
You did. No.
Yeah, I probably played, or his brother. Or his brothers.
You played against him. You played against him.
You know, the curl, the lions, the things like that. When he started saying go-go's in the high schools, it was only a few schools on this side of town that was throwing go-go's. So I know he was in there. That was the sweat box up Coolidge and the cafeterias up Roosevelt. And homecoming, you might get one down Cardoza in the gym because we were playing it. But for regular high school, in the high school joints, it was the sweat box up Coolidge and the cafeteria and Armory up Roosevelt. Wilson might have had a few. I don't recall Dunbar really having them. I don't recall McKinley really having them. And I can't speak for east of the river schools because, you know, from back in the day, you was on this side of the river. You mingled on this side of the river. So his history really changed my vision with that. Boots.
Well, for me in general, and man, and I swear, I hate to say what I'm about to say, but I just think it needs to be said. People in go-go need to examine who they're getting their information and where they're getting the source from. Because I have been seeing a lot of misinformation, false information, or just interpretations. And also, I think people in go-go should understand how the political process goes when you're getting government funding. In go-go, we're so used to going to a show, and at the end of the night, we get our money in our hand, and then we go about our business. People need to really fully understand there is a process that has to take place before you go to a government agency and get a check from them. So I hope people got some insight and some full understanding that you cannot just walk up and say, I'm in the go-go band, I'm in such and such band, now give me some money and I'm gonna go about my business. There are protocols, there are procedures that are put in place. And if you get any money from the government, you are being watched. You're being, you know what I mean? There's gonna have to be a paper trail. Tell us what you're gonna do, what day you're gonna do it at. So if nothing else, I hope people fully got some understanding of what the process is, what the dates are, the fiscal budget, and all that. And also on a personal, I don't want to say personal, but I think people assume that Ronald Moulton has all this power and he can just write you a check and you can go about your business as well. So just in general, I hope
or he's been writing checks.
Right. You know what I mean?
And that was clear that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Or there's been no money given out. And I have been hearing for the last 3 weeks, man, it's been a go-go COVID relief fund and bands get money. Ain't nobody know. Ain't nobody got no money from nowhere. You know what I mean? So I hope people fully understand the purpose that we had McDuffie on here. And I hope, as you realize, he is the person that created the bill. And he is the person that took money out of his Ward 5 budget to fund the bill. So you got it from the source today. You got it from the brother's mouth today. You know what I mean? So once again, October the 1st is when the money gets distributed. Before then, you have an opportunity to get the money and all that. Position yourself. Please be organized. Please be 501. Please have some type of, legal documentation for who you are. So I just hope they got it. I mean, I don't know what more we can really do today, but Nika Ray, on your behalf, you put him in a fire as well. You know what I mean? There were no softball questions. He did not know what he was going to get asked. He took every question, and hopefully you guys get it. But again, there has been no money given out. No money.
I think also if you look at it from a standpoint of even school years, there's a budget that is set for each school year. And those fundings or those monies are not allocated or given out until that school year starts, but they have to plan prior to see where those funding or where that funding is going. And that's with any company, even the company that I work for. I know that, hey, like right now I'm on a project right now that starts in October, similar to the fiscal year for DC, I have a budget for certain events that I have to do at work, and I have to make sure that each person is represented within my company, or at least within my region, and make sure that we have an event for this person, this person, this person, this person, so that it's neutral across the board. But I can't have a Christmas gala. You know what I mean? It's going to be different this year, obviously, with COVID, but I can't have a Christmas gala, but then take away from those that might want to celebrate Yom Kippur or celebrate Halloween or celebrate Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like all of those in between. Or breast cancer month awareness. You know what I mean? So it's you got to realize there's a lot of planning that goes into that before anything is allocated. Now, not to dismiss also, I'm not sure if Joe Jackson is referring to this. Just like McDuffie explained, there are some small business grants that people may have applied for their bands. Because if you have your organization set up as a business and you apply for that, then you could possibly have gotten funding. But as far as this particular bill, no one has gotten funding from this bill at all.
Right. In layman terms, because I'm looking at the things this man is saying right now. The business grants, that means that's the same grant opportunity that 7-Eleven has, that corner store has, that such and such clothing store. If you're an established organization, it's just that maybe certain bands, like Nika just said, are set up as an established business organization. They had the same rights to that grant bill as that corner store in the neighborhood had the right to that grant bill. What we were referring to is the quote unquote the go-go bill. That's I don't know what the technical name of it is called, but that's the bill that we were actually referring to when it comes to funds for this go-go community that's coming up. I see you, Bootsy.
Okay, please let me answer this last question. Joe Jackson, I work for DC Department of Recreation. I put on Chuck Brown Day a few days ago. DC government and the Department of Recreation has a budget allotted for Chuck Brown Day every year. If it was a COVID or if it was not a COVID, Chuck Brown Day is in DC Department of Recreation budget. There was no other government agency or nothing that did it. DPR put on Chuck Brown Day from their DPR budget that was already allotted for the 2020 fiscal budget. So there was no other government agency. Nobody gave them some more money. DPR, it says the Department of Recreation presents Chuck Brown Day, and that money has been going on for 6 years, and that money was already in there. Also, let me tell you this, Mr. Jackson, the budget to put on Chuck Brown Day was a lot lesser this year because it was virtual. And One Go-Go World, which I have been hosting for the last 6 weeks, they were the ones who coincided and helped them with. Why do I know? Because I put them on the phone together because I have been doing it. So there was a budget already allotted for Chuck Brown Day. There was no separate money that somebody got out of somewhere and then gave it to us 2 weeks ago. Now the Mochella, I don't know anything about that being government funding, but I know it did not come from Kenyan McDuffie. So whoever that is.
Let's just make this clear, because I'm looking and he keeps ending all of his speculation with government funding. It might be, but what funding that is not coming out of is the go-go bill passed for the 2021 that's coming up. So it can be, I don't care what go-go foundation or go-go budget they're paying out of it. What we're addressing is that it didn't come from the most recently passed go-go budget bill because it doesn't go in effect until October of this year. Facts, stamp, signed, sealed, and delivered.
My man, I'm done. Y'all go ahead, man.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna go to this. Maybe I'll say this. I'll say this in closing, and I'm not gonna go back and forth with Mr. Jackson on this. He keeps stating that he has paperwork, documentation, just like we can always do the blend court. Like any court, if you have documentation and proof on your point, you are by law to submit what you have to prove to make your point to the defense or the prosecution, we both get the same thing. So whatever documentation you have, submit it. So if we bring you and we talk and you say document A, we'll put it on the screen for the people to see. Because if you talk
come on next week with your paperwork
without the paperwork that you're saying is backing it up, because if you can get the paperwork, then we can find the paperwork. But if you have it, then we can display it. We at a Blend Show. We can do that, and you're not going to get that offer from anyone else or that proposal. Let me say, let's keep it government. You're not going to get it. So get your documents in order, and we'll talk about it. Because, hey, I'm not speaking for Nika Ray. I'm not speaking for Boosie Vegas. I'm speaking as D Money right now. When I hear someone talk and scrap and yell as much as I hear you, my brother, I'm like, I hear you talking, but what are you backing up your lyrics with? So let's get that out there. We're going to wrap this one up. It's not shooting shots at Joe Jackson. We just putting it out there on the table. Hey, this is what we do, man. We the Blend Show.
I just want to say this. I mean, hey, all jokes aside, and regardless of what the topic may be, I just want to say for sure, I love Joe Jackson's passion.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? I cannot put that or downplay that. I love his passion, and I know that he wants to do what's right for God.
For that passion, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm never going to take that away from him because he's always been that way. And for to be an advocate and make sure that things are done right, especially for, as we always say, the underdog, you know what I mean? I appreciate it. So, like B Money said, you got the paperwork. We'll talk about it. We'll bring it up. And if it is something related to the go-go bill, which, again, I don't know how someone will get funds for something that hasn't even come out yet. Maybe it's a budget that was placed before for this particular year for certain events that took place.
We'll get an honest look.
We'll look at it. It's not a problem. So, Joe, chill with the all caps. Relax your fingers. Get the caps lock off.
Get your J. Get you married to Joanna.
Man, I love Joe Jackson, man. I love him, though, man.
When he had the Morning J show, I'm trying to be all in his comments. I just want to be all in the comments. You know how the producer be all in the music video dance, and I want to be all in the comments.
And let me tell you something about Joe Jackson. He has become the number one troll in go-go. He gets people to react. It's amazing what he get people to do. So I love him. You know what I mean? And
Joe Jackson said, check your inbox, E. He said, check your inbox.
I may check the inbox, but he definitely did not send me no paperwork. I know that. I've had conversations with him. He didn't send me no paperwork earlier. I know that for a fact. I have never got no document. And let me say this, Joe Jackson. Documentation beats conversation. You ain't never sent me no documentation of some bill or something that has been. And I'll be waiting on my inbox for that. But much respect for what you do. Much respect, bro. I'm sorry.
Shout out to James Scoop Ward too. We do this every Wednesday. We do this every Wednesday. He said, "Is that like so? That's the show." Yeah, we do this like 8:00. Yeah, that's how we do it. All right. Hey, look, let's wrap this one up.
Sally or something.
Huh?
He said, "Isn't my name Charlie or something?" And I love
hey, look,
Jackson,
man, this is the Blitz Show. We had it. Make sure, hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching this. Make sure you share this. Make sure you share this on all platforms that you can possibly think of. Hit that share button and put it out there. Because as you know, the Blend Show keep their word. We're gonna stay in touch with Councilman McDuffie. We're possibly, I'm pretty much sure, going to be one of his main social media platforms because we're going to keep pushing that agenda from the Blend Show side anyway.
Congratulations, Nika. Congratulations, Nika.
When we get it in, we gets it in. All right, so let's wrap this one up. Nika Ray Weather,
Boosie Vegas always volunteering me for something. I feel like I'm always being volunteered. I just want to just throw that out there, okay? But I don't mind, you know what I mean? You know, pressure make diamond. So what can I say? Anywho, thanks to everybody that watched. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you got some informative information from it. I hope you take it. I hope you run with it. And I hope that, you know, you improve your future by it. Joe Jackson, maybe we should do like what the little Facebook rooms with Joe Jackson. Yeah. So that we can figure out what's going on. Because you know you can't on live, you can only add one person. So maybe we can do one of those rooms. So all
Let's
four
just
of
get
us
him on next week. Let's just get him on next week. Let's just get him on.
We'll see what the documentation is, and we'll work from there. Now
I tried, Joe. I tried.
We don't have to call. We put it out there because you know he quick to say, just call me. We've put it out there. So now the ball is in his court. The ball is in your court, Joe.
The little rooms on Facebook.
Yeah, you are man, Joe. You know how we get down. Much love to you, homie. Bootsy Vegas.
Hey, just thank the big homie, man, Kenyan McDuffie. He spent over an hour and a half with us. We threw every question. We threw everything at him. We threw every name. We threw names, dates, everything. I mean, we asked him everything. And I just want to thank him for coming on because we definitely put that man in the hot seat tonight. He was on fire. I don't know if he knew what was coming. People be looking at Nika thinking she's all nice and pretty, but no, she's something else. I'm funny. I'm something else. D-Money's a DJ, but he's something else. But thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on here. Answering every question, and we just hope that everybody got some clarity of what is going on. And I ain't gonna lie, I can't wait till the day that I get to say that my homie is Mayor Kenyan McDuffie. Now, that is what I'm looking forward to. D-Money.
All right. Hey, look, appreciate everybody in the chat. All I ask is that you share this, and share this. All right, I'm talking you. Yeah, you right there. Share this. Hey, look, I appreciate y'all, man. Each and every Wednesday, you already know this is the #1 internet radio show to get through your hump day week, to take you right into the weekend. You already know how it is, man. I'm claiming it. Your #1 show, making internet radio what it was meant to be. It is the Blend Show. I'm D-Money. That's Nika Rayweather. This is Bootsy Vegas. And
done with you, done with you.
Yeah.
We had fun with you, we done with you. Hey, fun with you, done with you. We had fun with you, we done with you.
Appreciate you.
Fun with you, done with you.
Appreciate you, Mr. Councilman.
We done with you. Hey, fun with you, done with you.
Yep.
We had fun with you, we done with you. Fun with you, done with you.
Tell your radio up. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Turn your radio up, homie. Listen to this. Hey, listen to this. Listen to this. Turn your radio up, cuz. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Turn your radio up, cuz. Listen to this. Listen to this. Here we go. Hey, they need crank. They need a dog crank. Oh, listen to this, yo. Listen to this, come on. Hey, they need crank. They need a dog crank. Here we go. DMV, Go Girl Worldwide. Hey, turn your radio up. It's the blend, it's the blend. D-Money, Nika Ray, Bootsy Vegas, at it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend, it's the blend. D-Money, Nika Ray, Bootsy Vegas, at it again. Turn your radio up. It's the blend, it's the blend.